Welcome and thank you very much for joining us on week 6 of our Destination Cork Summer Series entitled Eastern Surprise. Following on from a very interesting sojourn to Coastal Cove way back at the start of our Destination Cork Summer Series, we decided to head back to the East Cork region once more because there is really just so much to see and do there. It deserved at least one other day out. And today we're delighted to be joined by our friends from the Jameson Distillery in Midleton. Welcome to Helen Murphy. To Fota Wildlife Park. Welcome to Sean McKeown. And to Youghal, the town of Youghal, and representing the Clockgate Tower and St. Mary's Collegiate College. Welcome to Paula, Brennan. So firstly, to you, Helen, as there's nothing like a chat about whiskey and all things distillery related to set us on a jovial path for the day. Now under the Irish Distillers Pernod Ricard umbrella, Jameson whiskey and its many famous stable siblings, including Middleton Rare, Green Spot, Redbreast, named just but a few, now enjoy huge international recognition and global consumption, and we're, I must say, very partial to it here in this country as well. It is really wonderful, though, the global recognition, particularly because it continues to put the Jameson Distillery at Midleton and Cork on a worldwide stage as home to one of Ireland's oldest whiskies, the largest pot still in the world, and also that's the old one, which is right behind me here. And also the newest ones are the largest pot stills in the world. So that's quite a claim to fame. And as well as all of that, of course, it is a truly excellent visitor centre. And having served up many's the Jameson myself over my years in hospitality, be that straight up on ice in Irish coffees and hot toddies and in the odd cocktail, and in fact having gifted my dad many's the bottle as it's his absolute favourite whiskey over the years, I am very familiar with the label, the logo, and obviously the distillery itself. I've brought some guests out there and it is fantastic. I did unearth a little bit more information though in my recent research on you this week, and that was namely that the original founder, John Jameson, is actually a Scotsman. I couldn't believe it because my years of fighting with people about how much better Irish whiskey is than Scottish whiskey to find out that one of our favourites is actually produced originally by a Scotsman was very entertaining. And in addition to him founding it, I was interested to read that the original headquarters, which still exists today in the Bow Lane Distillery in Dublin, was the seat of the Jameson whiskey empire, let's say, for over 200 years before the distilling operation was relocated here to Cork in 1975. And at the time, before it relocated, Jameson had become the second largest whiskey distiller in Ireland and one of the largest producers of whiskey in the world. So John Jameson, from his roots in Scotland, went on to develop quite a large Irish empire here in the whiskey production scene. But since they've moved to Middleton, they have continued on what they say, and I love this phrase, grain to glass focus. I'm used to saying farm to fork, but this grain to glass was a new one. I love that. They continue to focus on a grain to glass focus to ensure a product that we are all hugely proud of here and a visitor experience that we love recommending to our guests. So Helen, I know there is many public and private whiskey tours there and premium whiskey tastings on offer. Can you share a little bit more information on what visitors to the attraction will enjoy when they come your way, please?
Sure. So thank you very much for that fabulous introduction, Karen. And I'm delighted to be part of this series and having the opportunity to talk about the beautiful Jameson Distillery Midleton and indeed East Cork. So here at the Jameson Distillery Midleton, which is located, we're just about 25 minutes drive east of Cork City. We offer 4 different experiences for the visitor. So our main flagship experience is called the Jameson Experience Tour, and that lasts about 1 hour 15 minutes, and essentially it's a wonderful overview of life as it was here at the distillery. So it includes a guided tour, a comparative whiskey tasting, and a complimentary Jameson signature drink at the end of your visit. Highlights along the way include viewing indeed the largest pot still in the world that you mentioned there. It's a copper pot still, so it's magnificent, and people are really in awe of it when they see it. And they try and get photos of it, but it's so large, it's hard to get it within the frame. Then another key highlight is we bring all visitors in through our micro distillery. We built a new micro distillery here on site back just in 2015, and now all visitors get to pass through that. So that's a working distillery from Monday to Friday. And so when you enter in there, you get the lovely aromas and smells, and really you hear the pot stills humming away in action, and it gives a wonderful sense of what a distillery is like. And then another key highlight along the way is a walk through the live maturation warehouse. So by live, I mean there are casks in there all filled with whiskey, all in the process of maturing. And there are 1,000 casks in there, so it's very impressive. When you walk into that area, again, you get the lovely aromas and smells of the whiskey maturing in the casks. And it's just a very impressive sight, seeing 1,000 casks stretching out in front of you. So those are the three of the key highlights, but there are many other items along the way. We not only tell the story of whiskey production from grain to glass, but we also tell the story of the people who worked here. And indeed, this was a distillery from as early as 1825. It was called Cork Distilleries, and so there's a history of distilling whiskey here for a very, very long time. So that's a tremendous experience. Then onto that, you can add a premium whiskey tasting. So premium whiskey tasting takes about an extra 20-25 minutes, and in that you taste 4 of our fantastic premium whiskies, including Middleton Very Rare. So the premium whiskey tasting indeed can be done by itself, or it can be added on to the Jameson Experience Tour. Another key offering then that we offer is what we call our behind the scenes tour. This is quite special. You get to see everything you see on our flagship tour, but in addition, we take you into areas of the distillery that members of the public wouldn't normally get to see, and along the way you get 3 premium whiskey tastings. So you might ask, well, what do we get to see when we go on a behind the scenes tour? Well, we'll take you the special areas that you wouldn't see normally. We take you into the cooperage. So this is where our coopers work from. So you see their working area. They're not there when we go in because they've already finished for the day. But again, that's really impressive to see. It's not many places nowadays have coopers on site. So you get to see our cooperage. We take you up to the deck working area of the micro distillery, and then also we take you into the distiller's cottage. So we have a very famous man who was a master distiller with us for many years called Barry Crockett. He was born here on site in the beautiful distiller's cottage. So we take you in there and show you where he grew up, and indeed he was here at the distillery for 47 years, and he went on to create the very famous Middleton Very Rare whiskey, and as well obviously he was instrumental in creating our huge portfolio of other whiskies as well. He's now retired and we have a different master distiller, but again in the behind the scenes tour we tell you all about him, and it's a fascinating story. And then overall a visit wouldn't be complete without visiting our lovely gift shop. We have a wonderful array of both all of our lovely whiskies and indeed merchandise in there for people to see. And then also we have a food offering here on site, so people can have a little bite to eat before or after their tour. And there's free car parking here, both at the distillery and indeed in the entire town of Middleton. So we're right in the heart of the town. So even when you finished your visit here, you can stroll down through the town, and it's a real working, vibrant town in the heart of East Cork. So there's lots to do really here over a period of 3 or 4 hours. As I say, our flagship tour lasts 1 hour 15 minutes. Our behind the scenes tour lasts 2 hours, and both of those tours can also be booked as a private tour if people are coming to Ireland and they want a more private experience. So that's with pre-booking that can be arranged as well. And then last but not least, here on site we can offer for private groups what's called a cask opening. So we take you into a small little private area of one of the oldest warehouses on site, and the guide opens up a cask cask and gives you a tasting direct from the cask of mature whiskey. So again, that's something very special because it's the warehouse is oozing an atmosphere, and really these are memories that will last a lifetime.
Yeah, it's lovely. I know from personal experience, having been there, I've been so lucky to do the tour. But I was the chauffeur that day, so I didn't get to do the whiskey taste off at the end and compare the Irish, Scottish, and bourbon. But it was a fantastic experience, I have to say, experiencing it myself. And we just love it. We're so lucky, I think, in Cork to have something as fantastic as the Jameson Distillery in Middleton here on our doorstep, because so many people are interested in our whiskey culture and our heritage here in Ireland. And it is a fabulous visitor attraction. It's so well done. It's beautiful buildings. They're really, really impressive. And I also love in the gift shop that you can get your own monogrammed bottle of whiskey there. We've got it a few times as gifts for our VIPs and just for people visiting. And your colleagues there and yourself, Helen, are always fantastic, because in true hotel fashion, we might decide on the 11th hour the night before a visitor is coming that we want this monogrammed bottle of whiskey, and they always get it to us. And one of your colleagues even personally dropped a bottle to Killarney for us, to one of our hotels. So we just love that. It's a lovely thing, I think, for people to get their own monogram bottle as well when they're coming to.
It is. People are very keen to get something that they can't get elsewhere. So the personalised bottle is a wonderful thing. And we also do engraving of a hip flask as well. And indeed, one or two of our other bottles can also be engraved as well. So those are all special items that you can secure here at the distillery.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's really, really nice experience. Thank you very much, Helen.
Great, thank you.
And now, from whiskey to wildlife, we're going to scoot just down the road from Middleton to the hugely popular Fota Wildlife Park. Encompassing over 100 acres on Fota Island, the brilliantly maintained park is home to 106 different species of animals, and it also offers a wealth of conservation and educational opportunities for adults and children alike. Plus, it is honestly just a really great day out for families, for couples, and for groups. I just love it there. It was established back in 1979, and then it opened its doors to the public in 1983. And since then, today, Fota Wildlife Park is now a well-entrenched favourite haunt for locals, regional visitors from all around Ireland, and for our international visitors also. Outside of Leinster, it is the second largest visitor attraction in Ireland, which I did not know until this week. And it has welcomed almost 500,000 visitors annually, so it is very impressive. And I suppose while we immediately think of the fascinating animals that are there, and we are lucky here in Cork particularly, and all around Ireland and globally, I'm sure, to see these lovely pictures every now and then of the newest baby arrivals to Fota Wildlife Park in the Irish Examiner, our local paper, or on Fota Island or Fota Wildlife Park's own social media platforms, which are excellent. I love following them. We see the new arrivals every now and then, but more than just the animals, there's also a huge focus, I know, there on plants, biodiversity and conservation. And while doing a little additional reading recently, I was very excited to learn that a 5-year investment and project is coming to near completion. And that will see the addition of another 27 acres of land dedicated to Asian plants and animals, which is pretty exciting, I have to say. So Sean, over to you as you're the expert. Can you share a little bit more about these new plans, please, with us, and perhaps divulge if you do have any more small little babies joining the family there anytime soon at Fota Wildlife Park?
Yeah, as you said, the park opened in 1983, and last year we celebrated our 10th million visitors. So, you know, we've had a huge number of people pass through the park. In terms of new additions, we started an investment program in 2010, and that included a completely new entrance area. We have continued that with the development of the Asian Sanctuary. That's focusing, as you said, on Asian animals and plants. So many of the new species there are actually on show to the public. The Sumatran tiger there behind you, and on the right-hand side of you there is the Asian lion.
Oh yeah.
So the one on the lion on the right is Shanto. And yesterday, one of his sons has just left the park and is on his way to a zoo in Poland, Warsaw Zoo in Poland. They've just completed a new lion enclosure, and again, they're going to keep Asian lions. So there's continually things happening in the wildlife park. In January, we had our Indian rhino female join us. We have 2 males currently in the park, and we hope to start breeding Indian rhinos soon. So there are some developments taking place there. So we're hoping, there's some mating going on there at the moment. Recently, we had the birth of 2 red pandas, which is quite an endangered species. There's actually 2 species now of red panda, as opposed to used to be considered 1. That were either side of the Himalayas, but now we have the Indian or the southern species of the red panda, and we've, as I said, we have two young born, and that brings the number of in Fota to 6 of those. We've had the other recent births were 2 black and white rough lemurs. They're critically endangered, less than 200 left in the wild. We had 2 young born, and we had 2 young born last year. So now we have a total of 6 in the park, which is, it's 3% of the world population when you look at it. So it's an important aspect of what we do here. We also breed, rear a lot of tadpole, natterjack toad eggs, which are taken from Kerry, and then brought back as toadlets from the park. So this year we will be hatching and rearing somewhere around 2,000 of these natterjack toads, bringing them back to the wild. And people when they do the behind the scenes tour of the park, so they can see areas like that are not open to the public. So we have a special behind the scenes tour, and they're normally either 2 or 4 hours, depending on how much how intensive they want it. So mostly the family one is 2 hours, and then there are individual tours where the person can actually help out cleaning out a giraffe house, working, seeing what we do in the tropical house, behind the scene areas there. See the assist in feeding the lions and seeing them being fed. So and also the cheetah race, the cheetah run, where we have it's twice a day. At the moment, it is not sort of publicly notified that we're having it at a particular time, and that's to provide to stop the gathering of large crowds, because normally we'd have 300 or 400 people looking at that event during the day. So the park is quite a busy place this time of year, but if you want to have the solace and the enjoyment of having it more to yourself, we're now open early at 9 o'clock in the morning. So coming at 9, there's very few people in the park, and then in 2 weeks' time we'll be open later till 7 in the evening. So we're changing with the times, trying to open longer, extend our opening periods, and having a better experience for the visitors. Most popular animals from the very beginning in the wildlife park, we've had cheetahs, which are part of our logo, and giraffes, and they still are the 2 favorite species in the park. And I think part of that's because a lot of the Cork people and local people have grown up with them and being part of their environment, and we happen to be very successful with breeding them. So we've sent cheetahs all over the world, from Fota to the States, to the Far East, to Australia, and even back to South Africa. So the park is it's a nice open environment where you can share in the animals, but also the plants. A lot of the park was part of the Fota Arboretum at the turn of the century, so you can actually see our swamp site Cypress Walk and our Tushin Palm Walk, which were planted in the 1870s and the 1880s. They're still in existence, still there. But if you want a more intensive plant atmosphere, then there's the Fota Arboretum, which is world-renowned because of the unusual climate that Fota experiences. And for those who don't know, Fota comes from two Irish words, fod and che. Fod meaning soil, che meaning warm. So we've this area has always experienced quite a mild climate, a bit like Garnish Island, and that's what led to the formation of the Arboretum, which it's been here since the 1820s. So it's a unique environment, a unique experience, and one that can provide solitude, but also a lot of experience with animals and plants.
Yeah, as you said, people in Cork have grown up with it, and that is true. I just love it. I have so many good memories of going there as a child, and even in recent years with my family and my nieces and nephews, and they just love it. I love going there by myself as well, but I think with the kids, when they see the animals, it's just amazing. They're just so fascinated by them, and to have them here in Cork. And I suppose what I never really grasped, certainly when I was a child, and not really until this conversation, is how global Fota then operates in terms of breeding animals and sending them places. I did not have an understanding of that, I suppose, that how connected we are globally on that front, and on the conservation front as well, in terms of the plants and so on. So it's fascinating what you learn about your local attractions, and it really is an amazing day out. I've never heard anybody come back from Fota say they didn't enjoy the experience. They just love it. It's just so much fun, and it is lovely and peaceful as well. It's fairly wide open spaces and plenty of room to roam about, and it's just a really lovely experience. So we're lucky to have it on our doorstep. And now, after the fun-filled day at Fota Wildlife Park, we're going to skip a little further east to the coastal town of Youghal. It is a tricky name to pronounce with its silent G. It's kind of like the y'all in Texan is the easiest way to say it. Even for us locals, it can be tricky, but it really is a beautiful, lovely seaside spot to visit, made all the more attractive in recent years with the opening of the Collegiate Tower as a visitor attraction, the returning of the annual Ironman competition, which I believe is coming back to us in August 2021 again, the extension of Youghal Eco Boardwalk, and two recently awarded and retained Blue Flag beaches at Red Barn and Clay Castle. So, I mean, it is really a lovely, lovely spot to visit now. And meanwhile, back to the Collegiate Tower. So this building has been in existence for many, many years, but it was only opened to the public again 7 days a week back in 2017. So it is an iconic historic landmark. It has centuries of history and stories and many incarnations, from a jail to a centre of trade to a family home for the clock caretaker, the McGrath family. And all the while, it has retained a beautiful 360 bird's eye view within the medieval walls and out over the medieval walls of Youghal, out towards Waterford and Youghal Bay. So really, really lovely, and worth the climb up to the 5th story of the building if you go down there. And speaking of the floors there, I was reading a little history on it, and I absolutely loved the sentence that said, Christie kept birds on the 4th floor of the tower. This Christie McGrath, the original clock caretaker. And I loved that sentence, that Christie keeps birds, because we've got a Christie at Hayfield Manor. He is our wonderful maintenance manager, and he takes care of our aviary. And he makes sure that all our feathered friends are fed and watered at Hayfield. So I loved that sentence. It was a really good story. As well as this story and many others, which will be provided, I believe, by costume storytellers at the Collegiate Tower. Visitors can also enjoy a combi tour and take in a visit to nearby St. Mary's Collegiate Church, which is celebrating 800 years this year. So a beautiful 5th century historic monument. Again, complete with lots and lots of historical stories, including a link to Winston Churchill, I believe, and it also has a really interesting graveyard trail. So, Paula, can you share a little more with us, please, about what visitors undertaking the combi tour of both the Collegiate Tower and St. Mary's will enjoy, and how both of these attractions serve to add hugely to the town of Youghal?
Hi, thank you very much. The Collegiate Tower is a 50-minute tour told by a costume storyteller over 4 floors and 600 years of time. It is suitable for those interested in history, culture, Ireland, jails, clocks, horrible histories, and family life. As I said, it's over 4 floors, the 5th floor being the viewing platform. It has been a merchant's quarter from 1563. It was a jail from 1777. It's been a teller of time for over 350 years. And it was a family home from 1915 until eventually the McGrath family moved out in 1959. So each floor depicts an era in the history of the tower. It is suitable for anybody from 4 to 104, as long as you can climb the steps. The St. Mary's Collegiate Church then is celebrating 800 years of continuous worship this year in 2020. The roof structure alone is worth a visit. It is absolutely amazing to see. Wayne is our storyteller there, and he will tell tales from the 1200s for Youghal and the surrounding areas, from Sir Walter Raleigh, Oliver Cromwell, the Duke of Wellington, many famous writers and travellers. The tomb of Richard Boyle is amazing and has to be seen to be believed. I've heard Wayne describe it to school children on tours as his Facebook page. It tells his whole life, the structure that's there at the church. So what we would recommend is that you come, say 11, 12 o'clock, do your tour of the Collegiate Tower, go and have some coffee or have some lunch. Beautiful restaurants here in Youghal, coffee shops. And then take your tour of St. Mary's Collegiate Church. It's literally a 5-minute walk from one building to the other, all within the town walls of Youghal, the medieval town walls. We also do walking tours. If you still had the energy after the 2 tours, you could then do a walking tour of Youghal. And all of the storytellers are interlinked. So what you hear in the Collegiate Tower and what you hear in St. Mary's Collegiate Church, other things will be pointed out then on the walking tour that you've heard referenced in St. Mary's and in the Collegiate Tower. All tours are by costume storyteller.
I love that. That really adds a little bit of additional fun and flavour to it. And it's actually also great that they're open 7 days a week, because on Sundays, sometimes in terms of recommending family days out, obviously Fota Wildlife Park is open 7 days a week, and the distillery, of course, as well. So we're lucky in Cork. A lot of our attractions are open 7 days a week, but that's not always the case. So it is good on a Sunday to have these places to recommend people to visit and take their families to, which is really fantastic. And I think Youghal is beautiful, a bit of a hidden gem.
Yes,
but becoming
absolutely.
more and more on people's radar now with the onset of the Ironman competition. We welcome a load of people from all over the world to Youghal and to Cork, which is fantastic. It is lovely, and with beautiful beaches and lots to do in the town. And as you mentioned, restaurants. I know that Ahern's is there. I've been in for lunch. Yes. It's beautiful. A fellow Ireland's Blue Book member. So lots to do in Youghal. And now, before we wrap up, we will do quickly a quick fire round of everybody's personal favourites, because we love to talk about people's favourite things, and also we're very nosy. We just want to know what people like, particularly when it's related to Cork. So Helen, we'll start with you. I understand that 3 is a very special number at Jameson, with John Jameson's signature triple distilling, which is still in action today. Can you share with us your top 3 favourite whiskey cocktails or whiskey-related beverages, please?
Sure, thank you. So definitely a Jameson ginger and lime is one of my favourites. It's just such a delicious drink. One can have it both in winter and summertime. It's equally as delicious in both seasons. And indeed, the Jameson ginger and lime cocktail is a drink that we offer to everybody at the end of the tour. They can either go for that or a Jameson neat, or with a little drop of water. But so that's definitely a firm favourite of mine. Then a whiskey sour is also a very nice whiskey. We make an excellent whiskey sour here on site, and of course it's quite a zingy cocktail, but it's a world favourite, so that has to be definitely in the list. And then last but not least, an Irish coffee is always a firm favourite. I think everybody at some stage at the end of a dinner party or at the end of a gathering has been offered an Irish coffee, and it's hard to resist. So we make Irish coffees here at the distillery all the time for our guests, and we make them typically with Jameson Original, and it's a worldwide favourite now at this stage, as I say. So definitely those three are amongst my favourites.
Delicious. I know that just even the thought of making the Irish coffees, we do it sometimes for our guests. Well, we obviously serve plenty of them to our guests, but if we are hosting some visiting agents or groups of guests sometimes, or families, we might do a bespoke private Irish coffee making demonstration for them, and then we make them, we show them how it's done, and then we invite them to make their own. And our brilliant barman, who are always funny relaying stories of how Irish coffee was developed and all of that, they always say that Irish coffees should be made with a warm heart and a heavy hand. So, not a stint on the Jameson as it's going in, just to make it taste really good. So
very good. Good advice.
Yeah, oh yeah, we're very passionate about that. Warm heart and a heavy hand is how we make the Irish coffee. So thank you, Helen. Sean, over to you. There are lovely eateries on site at Fota Wildlife Park as well. Actually, really nice options for families to have their lunch there on site with you guys. But I know that a lot of families who go there and a lot of people who go there like to avail of the open grounds and the space and to take a few small treats themselves or to pack a picnic. If you were to go for a picnic there, while at work, or anywhere else out and about in Cork on a day trip, what three favourite Cork foods would you take with you?
I suppose to confess, I'm more of a barbecue man.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But I suppose the big thing that we are blessed with here in Cork is farmers markets. And if I was to think about going on a picnic, I'd visit one of those. Particularly if you're a tourist, you will pick up the real gems, food gems that are in and around Cork. One of my favorites would be smoked salmon, and you've got Hedderman's smokehouse just literally half kilometre or less away from the park here. It's just literally slightly over the bay from the wildlife park. So that would be a real nice ingredient. Others, things like cheeses, again, you can't get better than in Cork. But my favourite is a Cash and Blue. I particularly like stronger cheeses. But again, farmers market, that's the place to get them. Really, 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 really good. Sun-dried tomatoes, things like that in it. But I've lived in the Middle East, so I like salads, or salady things like hummus, mutabal, and things like those. And again, if you go to the farmers market, you get some fantastic ideas and salads, including your hummuses, your mutabal, your the more exotic themes as well. And I suppose at the end of it, a nice coffee. Badger and Dodo is another very nice coffee which we have a stall in the park for, and then Barry's tea. So I think on a picnic, tea would be my favorite, and I would go for Barry's tea. I mean, being outdoors, particularly, I came from a farming background, and when we were in the middle of summer, working on the farm, saving the hay, etc. Bringing the tea down and sandwiches was at about 4:00 in the afternoon was a blessing. As a quench thirst, something to quench your thirst. Tea like that is fantastic.
I agree. I think there's about the flask of tea out in the open air. It tastes so much better, and the sandwich and maybe a few potatoes shoved into the cheese sandwich. It just tastes so great outdoors. I just love it, and I really think that like picnics and the produce that we have here, I mean, you cannot go wrong. There's so much to choose from. It's deciding what not to take, make the picnic bag too heavy actually is the problem. And I think the farmers markets is a great suggestion. We're really lucky. There's even farmers markets in the city centre. So if people are ambling around the city centre, and of course there's the English market, but there's lovely little farmers markets down the Coal Quay on Saturday mornings and all around in the suburbs as well. And I know there's a really good one up in Douglas. And, you know, if people are coming to Cork to do a little research on where the farmers market is taking place on the day they're with us is a fantastic idea. And then pick up a few bits and pieces and hit the road for East Cork is what I would advise once you have all the bits in the bag. And speaking of East Cork, before we wrap up, Paula, I'll come over to you for your favourites. So we're really lucky in Cork, as we know, to be part of the now quite world famous Wild Atlantic Way coastal route. And recently, the new route that has been developed by Fota Ireland, Tourism Ireland, Ireland's Ancient East, is another really fascinating route through the eastern part of Ireland. And Cork is lucky to be also at the end of that trail. So there's so many historic attractions to visit. What would be your top 3 favourite over in East Cork, Paula?
My top 3 favourite, obviously I have to say the Collegiate Tower, number 1.
That's okay.
We've a constant battle with St. Mary's as to which of us gets the number 1 spot. So a combination tour, Youghal, Collegiate Tower and St. Mary's Collegiate Church. But then the other lovely thing to do for families is to head out to the boardwalk. We've an existing boardwalk at the moment, which is going to be extended, but it's absolutely stunning at the moment and so well used. Get yourself an ice cream, sit down on one of the seats, sit back, look out towards Capel Island. It's absolutely stunning on any day. The sun doesn't have to be shining. The water temperatures are actually very good at the moment. So head into the sea, even if it's only for a paddle, take off the shoes and socks, in you go. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a very safe beach and we have lifeguards 7 days a week now for the summer. So it's absolutely stunning, beautiful for families, individuals, couples. It's just beautiful.
Okay, that is fair and very good answers. Don't go further than Youghal when you're going east is the message. Yeah. And check out, I haven't yet had the experience of seeing the boardwalk, and that definitely is on my hit list to do.
Beautiful,
yeah, it sounds fantastic. And there's really sometimes the simpler things, like you say, having an ice cream cone, just sitting on the dock of the bay.
With your 99.
Yeah, with your 99. Oh, 99. For anyone out there who doesn't know what a 99 is, you have to experience one when you come to Ireland. It is a whipped soft ice cream with a chocolate flake stuck in, and it is just fantastic. So to have one of those on the boardwalk in Youghal, looking out across the bay, is definitely a must do when you're coming our way. Thank you very much, Paula. And thank you to all of our friends here today for sharing a little more information on all of the fantastic surprises that await visitors to the Eastern Cork region. Thanks to Helen, thanks to Sean, and thank you, Paula. It has been great chatting to you today, and I loved finding out a little bit more about all of your attractions, and I'll be coming your way myself soon. So a huge thanks to you, and a huge thanks to everybody for joining this whenever you get a chance to watch it. We hope you found it as beneficial as we did. We'd love you to join us again next week, where we're going to talk about all things gin in our Gin-tastic Cork session. So we talked to a few local gin producers here in Cork. So have the ice, the slice, and your garnishes at the ready. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.